Redditor 1. The moon was a sliver of silver slicing through the humid air when the first orb appeared above the sugarcane fields. My heart clenched the instant I noticed its color, an impossible lime that seemed to vibrate against the night sky, yet my feet froze to the cracked asphalt of Old Bellamy Road. 2 weeks earlier, I'd jokingly told my friends I wasn't afraid of anything, least of all backyard ghost stories and tinfoil hats. That night, at 14, I learned how wrong I was. 8:03 p.m. I was supposed to be home for dinner. Instead, I'd slipped out through the kitchen window, heading to the roadside ditch where fireflies danced like fallen stars. My little flashlight bounced against my hand, its weak beam illuminating silver spiders on the fence. The cicadas sang in a relentless chorus, lulling me into a comfortable haze, until the hush beneath that chorus made my blood run cold. 8:06 p.m. Out of nowhere, the firefly show dimmed. First one blinked out, then another, until only the hum of insects remained. Then that color, lime, neon, emerald, spilled across the sky. The orb hovered 20 feet above the cane, unmoving, silent. My flashlight slipped from my fingers, clattering into the tall grass. 8:08 p.m. The orb gained a faint halo. Ripples of light radiated outward in concentric circles, like a stone dropped into water. I took a step back and staggered as if struck. My ears popped, and I tasted metal on my tongue. The world seemed to tilt. "Cat?" My sister's voice trembled from the house behind me. I hadn't realized how loud I'd gasped. She emerged onto the porch, her nightgown flickering beside the screen door. "Go back inside," I whispered, but my feet wouldn't obey. 8:11 p.m. My sister stepped forward, peering at the orb. "Is that?" The light pulsed faster, brighter, its halo flickering off the cane and into the night like brushstrokes of jade. I felt it calling to me, an invitation I couldn't refuse. 8:13 p.m. My sister turned to run. I should have joined her, but I stayed paralyzed, watching as the orb tilted, revealing a band of hexagonal ports all around its midsection. Shapes moved inside, slender forms gliding behind the glass, their heads bowed as though studying us. 8:14 p.m. A low hum began in my chest, spreading to my fingertips. The insect chorus stopped altogether now. Even the wind faded. I forced myself to breathe, deep, shallow, deep, but the hum drowned my lungs. Then came the second orb, a perfect twin, dropping into view to the right of the first. My breath caught. If the first orb held motionless terror, the second doubled it. They waited, side by side, like sentinels. 8:16 p.m. My sister cried out, rushing past me toward the safety of the porch. She yanked open the door, stuffing me inside without a word. The screen door banged shut, and suddenly I was bathed in the warm, electric glow of the living room lamp. The hum vanished as though it had never existed. Inside, Mom looked up from her crossword puzzle, brow furrowed. "What's wrong?" she asked. "There were lights? 2 orbs right above the cane," I stammered. My words sounded absurd in the calm of our tidy living room. Mom set her pencil down. "Don't scare me like that." She switched on the TV to late-night reruns, but I knew she didn't believe me. The world outside felt unchanged. No flickering shadows sliding across our curtains, no rumble in the air, just the steady hum of the refrigerator. 8:30 p.m. I lay in bed, heart pounding, staring at the ceiling. The glow in the dark stars looked dull and lifeless in comparison. Sleep wouldn't come, not with those orbs etched into my mind. The following day, I biked to where I'd seen them drop in. The sugarcane stalks brushed against my legs, swaying in a breeze that wasn't there the night before. The ground was undisturbed. No circles burned into the dirt, no footprints. Just the silent field stretching to the horizon. At school, everyone was talking about the new fireworks show downtown. No one mentioned strange lights over Old Bellamy Road. I scanned the skies during lunch, but the sunlit canopy held nothing but ordinary clouds. That night, as I lay in bed, I swore I could still hear a faint hum, low enough to vibrate the sleep from my bones. I closed my eyes and saw the 2 orbs, panning in perfect formation, their hexagonal ports glowing like eyes. Years later, the orchard there has been replaced by new homes. I drive past on my way to work, the streets lined with street lamps that feel too small now. Occasionally, when the traffic fades, I catch a flicker of green in the treetops, an echo of that impossible night. The hum still thumps beneath my skin when I'm quiet enough to listen. My sister moved away after graduation, and Mom still laughs if I bring it up. Probably just drones, she says, but I know what I saw. I know what held me in place, watching in terrified wonder as they studied me. Sometimes, I park under one of those new street lamps, turn off the engine, and step out into the night. The wind rustles through the house's hedges, and for a heartbeat, I swear I see a glow above the trees. Lime bursts light, pulsing with silent intent. I hold my breath, waiting, and though I've long since outgrown childhood fears, I still feel 6 years old again, heart pounding, rooted to the spot, because some secrets of the night demand to be witnessed, even when the world insists they're just stories. Redditor 2. The crunch of gravel under my boots snapped me out of sleepy boredom long before I saw the trail. We'd been, 2 beers into the night? The moon was a sliver behind brittle clouds, and my flashlight beam bobbed ahead like a nervous thing as Dave and Marcus stumbled after me. Last call for civilization, I'd joked, knocking the beer from my grip. Now my words tasted sour in my mouth. The entrance to Shadow Valley Cave yawned before us, a tangle of roots and vines woven so tightly the forest floor looked like a catacomb. We knew better than to bring just one flashlight, but 6 packs and bravado make fools of us all. Marcus gulped beside me. "You sure this is a good—" "Shh," Dave hissed, dropping to his knees. He crawled through the tunnel first, the light flickering against slick rocks. Marcus followed, muttering every horror movie cliché ever written. I brought up the rear, staring at shadows that lurched in the beams. Halfway in, the world tilted. Dave's hand clenched the beam. The light spun wildly before sputtering out. 1 second of pitch black, then a whisper of something unearthly pressed against my eardrums, my heart throttle locked. A second later, the tunnel spat us into moonlit clearing. I froze at the edge, breath jagged. Dave and Marcus stood motionless before me, faces bathed in pale light, heads tilted skyward. In the sky above the old quarry, 3 spheres hovered, perfect circles of brilliantly cold white-yellow. They formed an exact triangle, suspended without a drip of sound or a hint of turbulence. The world around them dissolved into stillness. Wind, insects, distant cars, all vanished in their presence. "We need to run," Marcus whispered. Fear coiled in his voice, but his feet stayed nailed to the dirt. I understood then why horror films trap characters in place. Terror is an anesthetic. My limbs wouldn't obey, my brain scrambling to reconcile what my eyes refused to let go. The lights pulsed once, thick ripples of glow streaking across our bodies. My pulse thudded in my throat, drums announcing an invasion of logic. The spheres didn't blink or flicker, they breathed, a slow inhalation and exhalation that painted the trees in spectral hues. After a suspended eternity, a single thought crashed through my paralysis. "What the hell is that?" I croaked it into the hush. In response, the orbs shifted. One dipped low, as though sniffing the ground. The other 2 rocked gently side to side. Geometry itself bent around them. Dave exhaled a laugh that sounded like broken glass. It cut the spell, and the moment the laughter cracked, reality reasserted itself. A concrete structure loomed above us 50 feet up, the old Shadow Valley Bridge, its 3 lamps glowing dead-on above the edge of the quarry. In the black of the night, without reference points, their brightness had become the impossible spheres. I stumbled back, heat chasing the chill from my spine. "That's street lamps," I said, voice thick with shame. Marcus swore, blinking tears of relief. "We actually thought—" Dave doubled over, laughing until he clutched his sides. The tension snapped like a rubber band. Our terror transmuted into hysteria, breaths ragged, tears gleaming on our cheeks. Minutes later, we crept under the bridge, each lamp casting perfect circles on the concrete. No hovering craft, just the familiar trundle of highway far above. The world felt absurdly normal, the hum of distant engines, the chirp of crickets, even Marcus's ragged breathing sounded unremarkable among them. We made it to the cave at last, crawling through to an empty darkness that reeked of earth and damp. Our adrenaline faded into a tight buzz as we cracked open the rest of the beer and slumped against the walls, recounting every second of our cosmic hallucination. Years have passed, but whenever I drive that old road, now a new asphalt ribbon, I slow under the bridge at precisely 2:17 a.m., half expecting those orbs to reappear. The lamps still glow overhead, mundane sentinels that once masqueraded as the unknown. Yet on cloudy nights, when fog hugs the valley floor and the lamp's halos stretch into ghostly rings, I feel that old pulse of wonder and dread in my chest. Marcus moved away after college, and Dave's the only one who still answers my text about alien lampposts. At reunions, someone inevitably mentions that night, and laughter bubbles up until it catches, reminding us that real terror and real fools are separated by only a sliver of light, and the trick your mind plays when darkness grows too thick. The path to Shadow Valley Cave is overgrown now, vines choking the tunnel's mouth. I keep the flashlight in my trunk just in case. Sometimes I walk that corridor alone, flashlight clicking against branches, curious if fear still stirs those lamps into something alive again. But all I find is the echo of memory, and the quiet reassurance that sometimes the most profound encounters lie not in distant galaxies, but in the way a pair of street lamps can make you believe the universe itself is leaning in to watch. Redditor 3. The sheets felt cool against my flushed arms, yet the room pulsed with a warmth no blanket could produce. It was long past bedtime, and the only light came in waves. The ceiling's glow in the dark stars seemed to shimmer in response, as though waking from slumber alongside me. My eyes snapped open when the green glow turned from soft to liquid, flooding the walls and drenching every toy and model airplane in emerald light. I blinked, heart hammering. The windows, 3 of them, framing my garage turned bedroom like movie screens, were entirely green. I sat up so fast that my Care Bears comforter slipped to the floor. Beneath the glow, my Star Wars posters looked new again, their colors warped into something far stranger. Silence pressed against the panes, and then I heard it, a hum so low that it felt woven into the very air, vibrating in my chest more than my ears. It was a single note, pure and insistent, resonating like a tuning fork struck by cosmic fingers. I swallowed hard, tugging at the edge of my pillowcase. My mind scrambled for explanations. Blacklight? Power surge? No, this was otherworldly. As if on cue, the green tide receded just enough for me to see the object outside, a classic flying saucer hovering above Mrs. Peterson's maple tree. It wasn't some distant dot. It filled my view, massive as the moon, its brushed steel surface alive with ripples. A ring of oval portholes glowed brighter than the hull, pulsing in time with that patterns. Hexagons, spirals, something altogether alien, shifted across the ship, never staying still long enough for my 9-year-old brain to track. I slid off the bed and crept to the window, toes curling against the cool wood floor. My breath fogged the glass. The ship seemed to watch me as I watched it, our eyes locked in a silent standoff. Beneath the hum, I heard something softer, a trill like wind chimes, yet impossibly deep, tugging at my thoughts. Fear didn't come. Instead, awe bloomed in my chest, like discovering magic tucked away in an ordinary night. My great-grandmother's stories swirled in my memory, her tales of fireflies dancing in moonlight and ghost ships drifting on bay waters. She believed in every impossible thing. I'd always chalked her stories up to whimsy. Now I wondered if her childhood had been touched by the same wonder. The hume deepened, and the portholes brightened, casting emerald highlights on my bare arms. The glow in the dark stars on the ceiling pulsed in sympathy, as though conversing with the saucer. For the first time since I was old enough to name the constellations, I felt part of something vast, as though all the distances between galaxies had shrunk to a single heartbeat. Then the ship tilted. A single beam of green light shot down, landing on the lawn and splashing my bedroom in brilliance so intense my eyes stung. I stood paralyzed, transfixed by the beam's intensity, the hush that had fallen, so complete it swallowed the world beyond my windows. My alarm clock's red digits flickered to life, 7:23 a.m., though dawn had only just begun to touch the sky. The green light vanished, sucked back into the heavens like water down a drain. The pane beneath my nose fogged clear, the maple tree outside swaying in a normal breeze. The hum faded to nothing. The hush gave way to the distant bark of Mr. Wilson's dog. I scrambled into the hallway. Great-grandmother sat in her rocker, knitting needles poised, as if she'd been waiting all along. She looked at me with a gentle smile that carried no surprise. "You saw it," she said, voice soft as moth wings. I nodded, mouth too dry for words. She patted the seat beside her and resumed her knitting. I curled up next to her, stunned by the ordinary normalcy of it all. At breakfast, Mom complained about the coffee being cold, and Dad flipped through the newspaper, his brow furrowed over crime statistics. My sister sipped orange juice, droning on about math club. Not one of them glanced at the windows, where the sky was a cheerful morning blue. That day I rode my bike through the neighborhood, hoping someone else had seen the green glow. But lawns were dotted with sprinklers, birds called overhead, and every adult I asked shrugged, offered an excuse about car trouble or an early storm. No one else mentioned strange lights or humming galaxies. For years afterward, I devoured books about UFOs, astronomy, and ghost stories, searching for clues I could never find. Whenever I visited that house, I made my way to the old garage bedroom, pushing aside boxes of forgotten toys. The windows looked smaller now. The glow-in-the-dark stars faded, but sometimes, when the street was silent and the night had flattened into velvet, I'd swear a faint hum trembled through the panes. My own children have those same little stars plastered across their ceilings, and sometimes, as I tuck them in, I feel the pull of that memory. I look out at the sky and imagine that green tide sweeping over the world again, the hum filling every corner of the universe, inviting us to step closer. They fall asleep easier than I ever did, lulled by bedtime stories and night light glow. But I stay by their windows a moment longer, half expecting to see that old liquid green flood return. It never does. And yet, I find solace in knowing that some nights, somewhere in the sky, there are truths we cannot explain, and wonder too beautiful to vanish forever. Redditor 4? The night the highway went silent, the world felt like it had paused its breath. I was 13, riding shotgun in Dad's faded Chevy Nova as we crossed the desert toward my aunt's place for Thanksgiving. Mile after mile, the taillights ahead slipped into the distance and the horizon glowed with the promise of burning tires and radio static that never came. I yawned against the window, expecting the familiar hum of the engine and the crackle of country music. Instead, the road stretched ahead like a ribbon of ink, and the only sound was the steady click of my seatbelt. Dad glanced over, brow furrowed. "You hear that?" he asked, voice low. I twisted to look at him. "Nothing but us," I said. He nodded, shoulders tense. "Keep an eye on the mirror." That's when I saw it. A single point of orange light rising behind us, hovering at the edge of the road's shoulder. It wasn't the dim flash of a tail light. It glowed like embers from a distant fire. I pointed, and Dad eased off the accelerator, the car coasting to a halt so smoothly the tires barely squealed. The engine cut, and silence settled over us like a blanket. Not the restful kind, but a taut, anxious hush that made my ears ache. Dad killed the headlights, and in the dark the orange glow shone brighter, pulsating in slow, deliberate beats. I pressed my face to the cool glass. The light hovered at least 50 feet off the ground, motionless against the desert sky. Then another appeared, same size, same rhythm, 50 yards to the right. Dad reached over and clicked off the dome light. Our faces disappeared into darkness, leaving only the glow to paint the Chevy's interior in surreal shades. "Dad, what is that?" My voice felt small in the cavern of silence. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached for the door handle. We stepped out, the gravel crunching loud enough to shatter my calm. The air smelled of dust and mesquite, surprisingly cold for late November. We walked toward the first light, each step filling my chest with a mix of dread and awe. The two lights formed a perfect V, like markers guiding us into the unknown. When we reached the shoulder, I stopped, breath catching as I realized there was nothing under them. No poles, no markers, just empty space. The lights hovered as if anchored by an invisible hand. A third light blinked on behind us, then two more to the left and right until a row of 5 orange orbs framed the Chevy, pulsing in unison. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it might attract something. I squeezed Dad's hand, surprised at how icy his grip was. Then the ground beneath the lights seemed to absorb the night. The temperature plummeted, and a low vibration rolled under my feet, like standing on a subway platform moments before the train roars past. Lifting my head, I spotted the source, a metallic disc, perfectly round, glinting dimly in the glow of its own lights. It was easily twice the width of the road, suspended without a sound or visible means of support. Dad and I stared, rooted in place by something more powerful than fear, the magnetism of the impossible. The disc's underside rippled, as though the metal were liquid, and the orange orbs shifted positions to outline its rim. A faint, melodic hum rose from within, resonating in my bones. I felt something brush my mind, an image of swirling clouds, of vast empty plains, of stars seen not as pinpricks but as rivers of light. The thought wasn't spoken, yet I understood it, as if the craft itself wished to share its vision. My legs trembled so badly I feared I'd collapse. Dad swallowed hard and edged back toward the car. I followed, never taking my eyes from the disc. As we reached the Nova, the lights blinked out, one by one, like a countdown to oblivion. The hum died. The night snapped back into focus. Crickets, the sigh of wind in the scrub. Ordinary sounds that felt unbearably loud. Dad climbed in and hit the ignition. The engine roared to life, startling us both. We sped off without a word, the taillights of a lone semi flickering ahead. In the rearview mirror, the desert lay empty. No lights, no craft, nothing but the black horizon and the unblinking stars. We reached my aunt's house at dawn. The first rays of sun peeled back the night's curtain, leaving behind only questions. Over pancakes, Dad told my aunt about an animal rescue truck that had broken down, explaining the lights. I didn't correct him. Some truths are too vast to share over syrup and laughter. Years passed. I chased rational explanations, military drones, road maintenance beacons, even high-altitude weather balloons. None fit the silence that swallowed the world, nor the hum that spoke directly to my mind. None accounted for the orange orbs that outlined a sky-born leviathan. Tonight, I drive that same stretch of road, older and wiser but still looking. I park on the shoulder, shut off the engine, and wait. The highway hums beneath me, a lone radio station crackling through static. My breath blows white in the chill desert air as my eyes scan the horizon, and every now and then, when the wind dies and the world holds its breath, I see a faint pulse of orange light flickering behind the scrub. My heart leaps. I grip the steering wheel until my knuckles whiten, toes curled like talons on the floor mat. The memory of that night, the hush, the hum, the invitation, rises in my chest. I've learned to respect the silence, to know that some lights, some visitors come without warning and leave behind stories too strange to dismiss. On that endless ribbon of asphalt beneath an empty sky, I wait, because sometimes the extraordinary returns to find its witnesses, and I'm still watching, still believing that next time the desert will not be empty.